Welcome to a tutorial on how to grow procedural tendrils like the ones in the Venom movie over any objects with geometry nodes in Blender. I'll show you how you can generate them from curves within geometry nodes and how to manipulate those curves to vary the width and taper them, as well as how to output attributes into the shader editor so you can control things like displacement and generate UVs for use with textures. You can really crank up the number of these and get something pretty interesting. It looks very organic and it's completely procedural. If you'd like to just use my Tendril system, I've provided a link to my Gumroad where you can download it for $1.25. Let's get right into it. I've got a simple human mesh in here on which to grow our tendrils. And the first thing we want to do is make our source object. So let's make a cube. And this will have the geometry nodes attached to it. Let's call our system procedural tendrils. And what we want to do is get rid of this geometry input. And we want to generate a mesh circle. Plug that into the output. And then we have a circle. This is going to determine where our tendrils start from. So we want to stick this to the surface of our mesh. First, let's make empty, make it a little smaller, and then we're going to parent our object to that empty. And we're going to name this tendril location controller, and we'll name our cube tendril source. Now, when we move this controller around, that'll be how we control the relative position. And then to make this snap to the surface of the mesh, let's go into the object constraints and make a shrink wrap modifier. Target our mesh, it'll snap to it, and then align to normal Z. And now it'll snap to it and orient itself to the surface normal. And that gives us a great starting point for growing our tendrils. So let's make this radius a little smaller. We want them to all sort of start from one point and radiate outwards. Like in the movie, it looks like goo is gushing out of his body and spreading across, turning into Venom. So let's instance some curves on the vertices of this mesh circle. So curved line, and then an instance on points. Plug the curve into the instance, and we've got some lines pointed outwards. Let's make those a little shorter. And we want them to point in the normal direction of the mesh circle, which we can do with a normal node and align Euler to vector. So plug normal into the vector and rotation into rotation and set the axis to Z. Now what it's doing is it's taking the normal, which is a vector, and aligning it and turning it into a rotation value that will work in this rotation input. So that's great. Now we want our curves to stick to the mesh, just be aligned, which we can do by grabbing our source mesh and using a geometry proximity node, geometry into target, and then make a set position node, position into position, and then hit relative. Now these aren't doing anything yet because they're all instances still. So realize instances. Now each curve is unique and they are sort of sticking to the shape of our mesh. So if we make these longer, it's not exactly wrapping around like we want. The solution for that is to iterate this process. So if we set this length to like 0.02 or 0.05, the idea is to generate a small curve, and then generate a second curve at the end. Set position to the geometry, generate another curve, and so on until it wraps itself around. So each curve gives the next curve its starting position. So let's do that. Give ourselves some space, and we want to duplicate this whole setup. And we're going to plug geometry into points and set that up. Now let's hide our mesh. Now we've got a secondary level of curves on the start and end points, but we only want them on the end point, which is easy to do. Just grab an endpoint selection node, hit that, put that into selection, and this will select the end and start point of a curve. So if you turn start size to 0, we're just selecting the end. The rotation isn't right. We want it to keep going in the same direction. And the rotation is wrong because it's being rotated to the normal, which is perpendicular to what we want. We want the tangent. So make a tangent node and plug that into the vector, and they're going in the right direction. Now let's make a join geometry. Plug that in after you realize instances, and then plug the original geometry into there. Now we've got both sets of curves. That's the first iteration. So let's take this setup, isolate that, shift right click. We don't need this anymore because the first curves are already pretty much pointed in the right direction. And let's group this. And we'll call this group curve iterations. And all we have to do now is duplicate it a bunch of times. Let's make our iterations a little bit longer, like 0.1. And now we're starting to see something that we want. Sweet. Let's do 0.2. And they're really wrapping around like our whole mesh now. The next step would be to give these some geometry because they're just splines right now. So curve to mesh, and then let's make a curved circle. Let's make the resolution 12. We don't want it too high res, and the radius like 0.02, and we will plug that into profile curve. Give it a minute. It's a little heavy, and there you have it. We have a problem though. None of these are connected. So what we can do is make a curve to mesh after our set position node, and then make a merge by distance node, and then mesh to curve. And now they're connected. There's some things that shouldn't be connected that are connected as well, because we just want to turn this distance down as much as we can. And now we don't have that problem with nearby vertices being merged. So we want to taper these curves, and we can do that by setting the curve radius before we do the curve to mesh. So set curve radius, and then grab a spline parameter node. This will just give you information for each point along the length of the spline. So if you plug the factor into the radius, then it tapers it. But it tapers it the wrong way, so make a float curve, and then invert this float curve. And now it tapers it the way you would want, and you can also mess with how it falls off. We can add some noise to this for more organicness. So set position. We'll do that before the set curve radius because we're just affecting the underlying splines. We'll add a noise texture. And we'll plug the color into the offset, and things go crazy. We need to do some vector math. None of this noise doesn't have any negative values in it by default. So we need to add negative 0.5. That way it offsets it equally in every direction. And then duplicate this and make it a scale. And then scale it down to like 0.01 or something. And now we're affecting it much less. Actually, way too less, so 0.1. How about that? One thing we can do is resample curve to give it more points along the curve. I like to use the length. Try something like 0.02 or 0.01. Let's make this noise a little bit smaller. I'm just trying not to get too many things wrapping back on itself. Awesome. So now if we show our mesh, it's not sticking to the mesh anymore. So we can just duplicate the set position, grab our mesh, make a geometry proximity node, and do the same thing as we did before with position into position and relative. And now they're attached back on. One thing I want to do is vary the radius of these splines randomly. And we can do that with another set curve radius node. And we just want to take the radius, there's a node for that, plug it back into the radius so nothing changes. And then we want to multiply that by a random number. So make a random value node, drag that into the value, and now it is varying the radius for each point along the curve, which is not actually what you want. We want to vary it per curve. So here's where you would make a capture attribute node and grab the ID node. And now we want to say it's an integer and that it is a spline. Drag the ID into there. So you're just saying you want to grab the ID of that, which is literally just a number per spline, and use that as the ID in the random value node. And now we have random variation of the width. And let's make the minimum value 0.1 so they don't completely disappear. Let's add another float curve, which allows us to affect how many large ones and small ones there are. One more variation thing I'd like to do is send these splines off in more random directions. Right now they're radiating outwards, which is great, but if you want something a little more organic or random, we can do that. So go back into curve iterations, and in this rotation setup, all you have to do is make a random value node and then separate XYZ, combine XYZ, save your file, plug everything into where it should be, and nothing should change. And then you're just going to make a math node and plug your random value into there. Now you're adding a random value between 0 and 1 to the Z rotation of these things. And choose -1 to 1, and then they will randomly rotate both directions. To control the power of this, let's just duplicate our math node here and make it a multiply. And then you can multiply the value down to like 0.1 or something. Or 0.5. Now it's kind of random. We can also vary the length of these splines, which we can do after realizing instances. Add a trim curve node, and then add a random value. This one will just be 0 to 1, and plug the value into the end. So the end will go from 0 to 1. So now random ones are shorter. Now there's one more problem that you might come across. When you make this longer, like 0.4, you might get thicker segments of lines out here that are not what you want. like this, for instance. And that's because the merge by distance node is merging vertices that it should not. You don't want it, you want it to be merging vertices from the same spline, not different splines. So the way to fix that is duplicate this set position, and then we want to offset it by the normal, and we want that to be a really small value. So vector math scale to like 0.001 and plug the vector into the offset. So now that we're moving these just a little bit, maybe a little bit less, 0.00001. Some of them are still appearing. So we can also move our set position node after our merge by distance, because if we do that, that means these curves aren't on this all on the surface of the mesh when they're merged together. So the next step would be to make it so we can animate these curves on and off, which is pretty easy to do. All we have to do is go to where we're setting our curve radius and divide this spline parameter by a value. One more thing I want to do, which I realized after I finished filming this whole tutorial, is add a random value to this noise per spline. Because when you get a lot of splines next to each other, they all get displaced in the same way and get bunched together. So in my noise displacement area, I want to add a random value to this W, which is the phase. So add a random value, math, plug that in. Now we're adding a random value between 0 and 1, but it's to each point. So we need to do a capture attribute. ID. And we need to capture an integer, spline, plug ID into value, and then attribute into ID. And now we're adding a random value per spline to the noise. This brings us to the end of part 1. In the next part, I'll show you how to set up materials, how to generate UVs, and how to clean up your node graph and make it easy to change parameters and settings to get a variety of looks out of these tendrils. I'll see you in the next one.